Hey guys, my name is Alexander Tsikin. I will show you how to self-host Next.js app on virtual machine. I will be using Google Cloud as virtual machine provider on a free tier, meaning I will not pay anything for this and also you will not pay anything for this. So I will show you step-by-step process from start to finish how to do this, from deployment to configuring the VM to host this app. And make sure to follow the first link in the description of this video because this is my blog post where I have prepared all the details and I will be actually following this tutorial. So if you want to follow this with me, make sure to open this guide. There will be all the commands, all the information, all the links, all the resources you might need to make it work. And I guess let's go. So as an introduction, I would like to talk about why would you want to self-host Next.js app on virtual machine. So basically, one of the main reasons is that it's free, of course, because while using platforms like Vercel and Netlify, once you have a commercial app that you actually make users to pay for, and you have to pay for the hosting, as you might know, and it's about $20, which might not be a reasonable amount to pay for some people. That's why I myself have been looking for other solutions on how to host my Next.js app, and I found that making that like hosting my app on virtual machine gives me a lot of freedom, and also I have learned a lot of stuff while doing so. So if you follow this guide, you will learn basic Ubuntu commands, how to install packages on VM, so all that really interesting stuff. So as an intro, let's also talk about pros and cons of this. So some advantages and disadvantages. As I mentioned, you avoid vendor lock like Vercel and Netlify. As I mentioned, it's free. You get full control over your machine. It does perform better than some other solutions. So in some cases, I have heard that rather than hosting on some platform, you get better performance on virtual machine actually, because actually you have less packages and you can delete and like remove unnecessary stuff because it's your VM and you can do whatever you want with it. So also you will learn a lot while doing so. So by following this tutorial, you will learn a lot of new things for you, hopefully. So it's also an advantage of using this method, I would say. And also you can actually scale. So it's not like serverless infrastructure when someone manages it for you, but you actually can scale simply by choosing another VM for your app. So for example, once you reach this level of traffic where the machine, your virtual machine, does not cope with that kind of traffic, you can actually just choose another one that's more powerful, that has more network capabilities or has better processor, and this is kind of how you scale on VM. It is possible. And also let's talk about some disadvantages of hosting your app on Next.js. Of course, I will cover this topic. So first off, extra setup is required. This tutorial will cover the basic setup, like you will legitimately get your app hosted on VM. By the way, this blog that hopefully you have open in your tab right now and you're following it, so this blog post that where you're reading this, so my website tsikin.com, is actually hosted on virtual machine, so you can see how it performs. And it took me some time to learn how to do this, but if you follow this tutorial, it will be so much faster for you. So I will just show you that all those steps. So now about updating your app. So once you have your Next.js app set up on virtual machine, and let's say you have updated your GitHub repo and you want to update your project on virtual machine as well. So what you need to do is stop the process running on virtual machine, update the app, so pull changes from GitHub repo, and then restart your app. What that causes is downtime, meaning your app will not be available between those like time periods of updating your app. It's like it could be like 5 minutes every 2 weeks, let's say, because this is how often you want to update your app. So it's not big of a deal, But of course, for large projects where your clients or the company, like whatever, like they demand that the app has 100% uptime, it might not be suitable for you. But if we're talking about like personal projects or just small projects or even portfolio apps, like you want to showcase your work, I think VMs are a really good solution to also once again extend your knowledge. So that's about downtime. And also one downside sort of is that when you have a VM, you pay for it all the time instead of per usage. So what I mean by that is that for most of the serverless providers, they have so some of them actually have a pricing that's dependent on how much resources you use. For example, networking, once again, processes. So how much of that you use, that more you pay. But on VM, you just rent a machine and you pay for it. So once again, in this particular tutorial, we will be using free tier, meaning you will not pay anything. But once you actually scale your VM, you will be paying just for renting it, let's say, not for using it. So if it's just there and it's not being used, you will still have to pay for it. So once you finish this tutorial as an advantage and just cover some topics that we will go through, we will set up a Google project. We will set up our VM with Ubuntu running on it. We will set up Nginx. We will install Node, also PM2, and we will host our Next.js app for free. So let's get into this tutorial. I will also talk about prerequisites. So about prerequisites, actually, what you need to have is obviously a Google account, since we will be using Google Cloud Platform. And on Google Cloud Platform, you should have project with billing enabled. So you should have your credit card there. You should have GitHub account if you generally want to use GitHub repo and pull changes from there. And optionally, you should have a domain name. So if you don't have it or don't want to have it, it's fine. You can just skip the steps where I will be showing the domain stuff. And you can also just follow this guide, skipping those steps. And after you decide, okay, I actually want to use my domain with virtual machine, you can just connect it later. So it's not necessary to have domain at this point, but I will still be showing you for let's say for people who actually want to connect their domain name to virtual machine. And you can use Hostinger to purchase and manage your domains. I myself use it. I will be showing you the Hostinger interface of how to edit your DNS records to connect to VM. And I recommend using Hostinger. You can purchase a domain using this link that I have left here in this blog post. So let's go to the next step now. Now that we have covered prerequisites and a little introduction there, let's actually get to deploying our Next.js app to virtual machine. The first step would be to prepare a Next.js app that you want to be deployed. So there are three methods where you can get this app actually. So you can create your own app and make sure so it's ready to be cloned from GitHub. Hopefully you do know how to clone a repo. I will be showing you how to do this, if it's open or it's private. So you can have your own app. Just a quick note here, make sure that if you're doing this the first time, make sure that it's the most basic app ever. So no like complicated databases, no like complicated rendering, all that stuff. So anything that you doubt that might work on VM, so you might not want to do this yet. So you will just, so I recommend choosing the most simple app possible, something that's server rendered, static, like the most basic stuff ever. So the first way you can where you can have your app from might be from Next.js templates. So actually there are two apps that I recommend that you can start from. This is Portfolio Starter Kit. This is on Page Router, or you can choose a Next.js App Router Playground. This is how they call it. and it's on app router, obviously. Honestly, it does not matter which you choose, page router, app router, whatever. You can still clone the template from there and have a cool template on VM. It's possible, you can do this. Or the third version, where you can have your app from, is just by running basic npx create next app at latest script on VM. So once we will have it, we will configure it, and we will run this command on VM, not on your local computer, but on VM, and we will create the app this way. Of course, this will be, as you may know, the simplest app possible. It will be just one page, static, and I will just show you with this method the most basic, how to deploy the most basic app that we can. Now let's prepare our SSH keys. Actually, you should have them prepared, hopefully. If you have been using GitHub, you should have them, I think. So if you don't and you're hearing SSH key for the first time, make sure to check the guide that I have linked here. It's from freecodecamp.org. You can read on it, you can know what they are, and you should have them ready to use. So you should have their path, and you should know what they are and some basic stuff about SSH keys. So once we have that ready, go to the next step. Now that you have your SSH keys ready, let's go to create our virtual machine. First, we need to enable Compute Engine API before creating virtual machine. So follow this link, or just go to Google Cloud Platform and find Compute Engine API. So you need to enable this before creating virtual machine. This basically gives you ability to create virtual machines. So just click Enable and wait. At this point, you might get prompted to request quota increase, or you might get stuck on infinite loading. It's fine. I have actually faced this issue, and there is a source where on Stack Overflow people have the same issue, and if you do, don't worry. You need to go to billing, link an account, and set account. So here you go to navigation menu, billing. It will not show for me as it would for you if you get this error. It just transfers me to my actual billing account. But for you, it might get, you might get a pop-up where there will be a button to request quota increase, because you only can have one project on the same billing unless you have requested that. So make sure to click this button, request quota increase, on the pop-up. I will not show you this because I don't get it and I don't have this error because I have already requested this quota increase. And if you do, you will get a form that you need to fill in, and in just like 2 minutes after filling this form, or even less than 2 minutes, you will get an ability to enable Compute Engine API for multiple projects. As you can see, I have it now enabled, and now let's go to actually create our virtual machine. In order to do that, you need to go to navigation menu, go to Compute Engine, and select VM instances. Once you own that screen, you will have an empty table here and a button with Create Instance. Let's click this button, and you get a form where it's actually a VM instance create form. So you can just so you need to choose specific settings for it to be free. You can just click Create here. It will not be free that way. I have prepared a list of things you need to choose specifically to make this VM free tier. So make sure to check exactly what I am showing you here. If you want, you can follow this link, which is Google Cloud Free Plan Details, where they basically show, describe the same stuff, but I will show you this in a more friendly way. So let's first give a name to our instance. It doesn't matter, but let's say something like this. Region, it should be Central 1 Iowa, and zone can be any. So this is quite important because only in this region and in any zone in this region you will get a free VM. Now we scroll down to machine type, and here we should choose E2 micro. This is really important. So it will be updated. Now we need to find VM provisioning model. I will make sure to find it here. So here it should be standard. So not spot, but standard. It's already chosen, so we don't need to click any extra stuff here. Next, we need to choose correct boot disk. So here under boot disk, I click change, and I will choose Ubuntu as an operational system for this. Version 20.04, and here it's really important that you choose standard persistent disk. And you can actually up your size up to 30 gigabyte because it will actually be still under free tier. So make sure to choose those settings, click select, and the pricing should update for you. I will talk about the pricing in a minute. So in firewall, you should allow traffic to pass, HTTP, HTTPS, and I will also allow load balancer health checks. I will also install ops agent immediately because it will show me the like all the processes that are running on VM, and it's actually great to have it for debugging purposes, just to see what's going on with your VM. It's not required, but I will just enable it to show you how it looks. And under networking interfaces, and under network service tier, you should choose standard for your chosen region. So it's actually here, it's kind of hidden. And on the very bottom, you should not, under network service tier, you should not choose premium, you should choose standard. And it actually is written here that you get 200 gigabytes per month free in every region. So once you have clicked this, you will get a monthly estimate of course this can change, but for me it shows $7.31. And don't worry about this, you will not get charged this actually. It shows this, but instead of charging you this amount, the free credits of free tier plan will be used. So you will never see this bill. I will show you how it looks on my billing account. So now we click create, and our machine will be created soon. As you can see, now our virtual machine instance have been created, and now we need to connect SSH keys to this machine. What you need to do is you need to go to metadata and in SSH keys. Here you just click SSH key and paste your public SSH key. I will not be doing that on camera, just to avoid someone taking my SSH key for some reason. So make sure to paste your key and follow the next step. As you can see, I have added this SSH key to VM's metadata. It shows the username and the key itself. And just a quick note here, just for the future you, if you create multiple instances under the same project, they will all immediately share this SSH key. So you don't need to add SSH key to each VM instance. Instead, they are like project wise shared. So all VM instances under the same project already have your key. Now that we have added it, let's connect to our VM via SSH. What I will do right now is I will quickly open VS Code where I have this template written down. As you can see in the blog post, there is a path, like a command template that you can use. It's SSH-I, key to your SSH key, public SSH key, and username add hostname. So let's break it down. SSH is just to initialize SSH connection. I and path, it's actually the path to your private key file on your machine that you're running this command from. And username add hostname. So basically, you need to replace the username with your remote username. If you have added your SSH key, this will be your username that you have here. If not, let's say that you're using, so since this VM is under your Google Cloud Platform project, you can do this via your Google account. So the username in such case will be the first part of your Gmail address. In such case, if you have robert@gmail.com, then your username will be Robert. I found that it works for me. So let me do this command real quick. So this is the path to my SSH key, and I will change the username to this, and I will grab the external IP of my VM now. So let me go to VM instances. Here is the external IP of your machine, and I will paste it here. Now I can run this in any terminal. Let's try using, actually I found some problems using VS Code terminal for this. So I think I will do this in just command prompt on Windows. Once again, you can use any terminal, you will still get connected. I will just show you how to do this with Windows command prompt. So I have prepared this command. I will just paste it here and click enter. We will see what it does. As you can see, it prompts me to add this host to the list of known hosts. You just type yes, and that's it. You should now be connected to your VM. Yes, as you can see, the screens here on the screen, I see that it's my username at my VM name, which is this one. I will quickly clear my terminal. And let's go to the next step now. Now that we have connected to our VM, as you can see here, let's prepare our VM and also domain, which is optional, for the deployment of our Next.js app. So first, I will show the step of connecting your domain to your virtual machine. So what you need to do is you need to grab your external IP here. I have copied it, and you go to the DNS settings of your domain. So for me, I will choose this one. I will go to DNS name servers. As you can see, I'm using Hostinger for this. I really recommend it. I will show you in a second why. So, and what I need to do is I need to add a DNS record. I have shown this here. So the table of DNS records that you might want to add. Basically the only record that you actually have to add is this one. It's an A record, so a link record. At root name, value is your VM external IP. And here's the comment what this command does. You actually don't need to grab this comment. It's just the explanation for you what it does. So let's add it. Type once again A. Name, it's root, and points to this IP. Once again, this is external IP of our machine. And TTL, this is actually how long this record will live. Let's just say some random number. It doesn't really matter. So I press add record, and this is why I like Hostinger, because it tells me that there is already a record existing that's A type, so meaning link type, and I click confirm here, and I will just delete this record that I don't want to have, which is this one. So this is the one that I have created, and this is the one that have been existing before. So I just delete it, and it's done. So now my domain is connected to my IP. If you go to your domain, nothing will show up. So let's actually make sure that something does show up. And also what DNS you might want to add is this one. So it's a CNAME type at www. Value is your domain. And what it enables is it enables traffic from www.yourdomain. Actually, Hostinger already has this record added automatically. If you're using other hosting provider, make sure to add this if you want to enable this kind of traffic to your domain. If not, just skip the step. And once again, if you don't have a domain, you can just skip the step at all. Also, if you want to install some kind of things on your subdomain, what you might need to do is to add another record type, which is once again A, name. This will be a subdomain name, basically, and value is once again your external IP of your VM. And what it does, it points you to this address. So admin, for example, admin.yourdomain.com if the name of the record is admin. So you can follow this link to buy and manage your domains on Hostinger. Let's go to the next step now. As a quick note here, you can use two ways of connecting to your VM via SSH. So the first one, as I showed, is with this command template. And actually the easier one, and you can use it as well, is just by clicking a single button on the Google Cloud platform console. So here under your VM, you can just click this button, which says SSH. It will open a new window which says SSH in browser, and you need to wait for a couple of seconds, and it will transfer SSH keys to your VM. You will also need to click authorize in the pop-up. I will just show you in a second. So here you click authorize. Now that that's done, you should see the same exact screen that you would, yes, as you can see, if you're connecting to this via this template. So the result is the same. It's up to you what method to choose. So either the button or this command template that I have prepared for you. You can choose either one. Let's go to the next step now. Next step of preparing your VM for Next.js deployment is the following steps that I will just show you now. So we are connected to our VM. Let's first run sudo su dash. This will switch to super user, and you should see root at your VM's name after that. If not, something went wrong, so please make sure that you actually see root at your VM's name. Now we need to install NVM, Node, and npm if they are already not installed in your machine. So let's check whether nvm is installed. As you can see, it's not. So it says not found. So let's run this script to install it. As you can see here as a callout note, I have written that you need to close and reopen terminal in order to use nvm. It's true, and let's do this. We have installed nvm on our machine, and now we need to close and reopen terminal in order to use it. So let's do this. So let's open the command prompt. I'm on Windows, so on Mac you might need to do some other thing, but still you can do this on any terminal. So I will clear my terminal, and the next thing that we need to install. So once again, let's check. Let's once again switch to super user first of all, and now let's check whether we have actually installed nvm. If you see something like version, something like looks like version, so you have installed nvm. Then we go to install node with this simple command. Once that's done, we also need to check whether it's actually installed by running node-b. As you can see, it's installed. Next, we need to install npm. So I will copy this command. I will paste it here. It's gonna prompt you to use extra space in your machine. You type y, which is yes, and you wait for all those packages to be downloaded, extracted, and basically installed on your VM. Once that's done, let's make sure that we actually installed npm by running npm-b. So I will wait for that to install. As you can see, it's quite a lot of packages. I think it said 800 megabytes or something, so it might take a while, but we need it for our Node Next.js. Basically, that's Node.js app to work. You might actually, as I mentioned here in the blog post, get stuck on processing triggers for ManDB. I have actually got stuck on this once. I have also checked on the GitHub issue, I think it was. So a lot of people do get stuck on it. I'm not 100% sure why is that, but you just need to wait for it to finish. I have installed npm. Honestly, I did kind of get stuck on ManDB. Once again, I just waited and it went through. So let's actually check that we have installed npm. Yes, we did. We have indeed installed it, version 10.2.4. So we have it now. Let's go to the next step of installing Git. Let's first of all check whether it's installed already. And as you can see, yes, it is indeed. If it shows the path to Git, it's already installed. And we don't need to install it just in case you use different virtual machine provider, because you can you didn't have to do this with Google Cloud. You can use any other virtual machine provider. So make sure to run those three commands to install Git, and then check whether you installed it or not. After we have installed Git, let's go to the next step, which is to clone the repo from GitHub. It can be both public or private. It doesn't really matter. In this guide, I will not be using GitHub repo. I will just be creating the next app, but I will tell you how to clone your repo in both cases. So if it's public, you just go to your repo and you can clone it just by inserting the URL to this command. So it's git clone and URL to your GitHub repo. It's that simple. If it's not public, so meaning it's private, there is a Stack Overflow question where you can read on what people are saying about cloning the GitHub repo that is private. But basically, it's really simple. What you need to do is you need to issue a personal access token and make sure to not share this access token with anybody, because what this token enables is it gives the owner of this token the complete control over GitHub account. Meaning they can, for example, if someone has it, this access token, they can, for example, delete all your repos, which is not fun. So let's follow this link. I have named it your GitHub personal access tokens. Get to this page and you just press generate new token, generate new token classic for general use. And you basically sign up with, not sign up, but confirm access via, for example, GitHub Mobile, if you have one. If you don't, you will probably see different screen, but basically you will need to issue this. And once it's done, here is the command that you need to run. So it's git clone, and I have included a template for it. So it's https / your personal access token. So included here at github.com, your username and your repo name .git. So, and here's the example. So your access token will look something like this. Note that this is not mine actual access token. I have just made an example here of the command. So it's access token, and here is basically the example of how this command might look. If you don't have or don't want to clone your GitHub repo, it's fine. Once again, we will just be using this command to create our Next.js app. I will clear my terminal now, and let's create the Next.js app on VM. What we need to do is when we are on the root of our VM, we can see on what directory we are currently in by running print working directory, so pwd. It shows in that we are in a root folder, which is what we want. And here, once we are in the root folder, root directory, we run this command. So npx create next app at latest. We run it, and it will prompt us to basically the creation of our Next.js app. Let's call it. I will just call it Next.js-app. Then I will choose just the most basic setup there can be. We will not be editing this app. It's just the tutorial of how to create one on VM. So if you actually have your app, you would want to copy to clone the repo, not to create it with this method. But since we just want the most basic app ever, here's how we do it. So we just wait for all the packages to be installed. As you can see, it's done. I will once again clear my terminal, and let's go to the next step. After creating our app, let's test whether it's visible by doing ls. It lists all the folders in current directory that we're in on Ubuntu. So as you can see, the folder has been created. It's called Next.js-app. So before trying to start the app, let's do #r it's recommended to do this. I will once again clear my terminal. I will also make it bigger, I think, so you can see it better. Now we need to cd into the folder with our app. I do cd and press I start typing the folder name and then press tab. What it does is that it auto completes the only folder that has the name that starts with the name that you have started to type. So it basically makes everything faster and simple. So once I am in my folder, let's do ls to see what's inside this folder. As you can see, those are the default folders and files inside the Next.js app root directory. So I will clear my terminal once again, and now I will run npm install, which installs all the dependencies for this project. It's really fast because, once again, it's the basic the most basic app that you can do on Next.js. It's a default one, so it's done already. Then we do the command that will take more time, which is npm run build. It builds our app, so basically if we do have static pages, they will be generated in this step. So usually when you have the actual app, so once again we're doing this on the default Next.js app, but once you have your app, this step is probably will be the longest one, and it will generate the longest downtime for your production application. As you can see, it's rather fast here. Once again, because we have a clear VM, we don't have any extra stuff installed on it. It has a lot of free memory and all that stuff, so that's why it's rather fast. But once your app grows, this will be the longest step that you will have. As you can see, it's already done. It was really fast because obviously just one, actually it's 2 pages here, a home page and not found one. So that's it. We can now run npm run start. I will just type it npm run start. And once it's done, it, as you may know, it's on the localhost 3000. But so obviously it's not our local host, it's VM's local host. So how do we access our app now? We copy the external IP of our VM and we paste it in the URL line here in the browser. And we add port 3000 to this. So as you can see, it might not get opened. I will explain in a second why is that. The reason why our app is still not available under port 3000, even though we have built it and we have started it with npm run start, is that because we have not enabled firewall policy and we have not enabled traffic to pass through that port 3000. So let's set up the policy that will enable that kind of traffic. So we go to VM instances and go to set up firewall rules. And here you can look through the available and enabled policies or firewall rules, and you will not find the one that we need. So we need to create one. This is why we need to create one. So here I have prepared that you can copy. We do allow 3000. We can actually allow TCP 3000 to make it more clear. We choose ingress, allow, targets. I suggest you choose all instances in the network to apply this rule to all the instances that you might create in the future. So under filter on IP ranges, you insert this, which means that all IP ranges are allowed to go through this port. And on the port, you do 3000, TCP 3000, and you click create. So it might take a few seconds for this rule to be created. Once it's done, you will see it in this table. And so we see successfully created firewall rule. And now let's update this page. As you can see now, our app is available because we have enabled this firewall policy. Although our app is now available under port 3000, under the external IP of our machine on port 3000, it's still not perfect because once we go to terminal and, for example, close it, because obviously we will not be having our terminal open this like all time. Or we, for example, press Control C, which stops currently running process, and we go to our external IP at port 3000 and try to update this, it will still be unavailable. This is because this process on npm run start, which opens port 3000 on our VM and makes our app available, so it's connected to our terminal. And once we close it, this process stops running. In order to prevent this and set up background processes, we will use PM2. Let's set up PM2 for background processes now. Of course, we need to install it first, so I will copy the command to install it. I will clear my terminal first, and then run this command. Once again, if you're installing some packages, it might take even a few minutes for it to be installed. So we install PM2 now, and while we will be setting PM2, it's really important to make sure that we are in the root folder of our Next.js app. So not in the root folder of our VM, but in the folder where our Next.js app is located. So I will do clear, and I will show you what I mean by this. So if you do ls and you see all those folders and files of your Next.js app, it means that you are in the right directory. If you're not, so let's say you are in the root directory, and you do ls, and you see that you only see this folder, but you're not in it right now. So it means that you need to cd into this. So now I am in this folder. Let's do ls. As you can see, yes, I am in this folder. So we have installed PM2, and we are in the Next.js app, like root folder of our Next.js app. And let's now prepare this command to start the process that will start our app and continue running it even if we close our terminal. So the command is like this. So it's pm2 start -- name, process name, -- start. So, and instead of process name, you can do something that's a little more clear. So let's say Next.js -app. I think that's clear enough. Once again, we're doing this as a test, and if you want, you can make this name a little bit more sophisticated. So, and I run this command while being on the root folder of Next.js app. It shows this cool PM2 graphic, and our process is now running. How do we check it? So we do PM2 status or PM2 list. It doesn't really matter. As you can see, our process is running. It has an ID, name, and allocated memory. And the most important thing is that it's online. So once we have this running, we need to also configure that PM2 will, we need to save this PM2 config. We do PM2 startup and PM2 save. So we have saved this config, and now every time our VM resets and reboots, the PM2 will start with this particular config. We can now clear our terminal and go to the next step. We have configured PM2. Let's check that it's actually working. So if we go to the external IP address of our machine at port 3000 and update it, as you can see, we now can see our app, even though in the terminal I didn't start it by hand, so I didn't run npm run start. Now PM2 is running this PM2 npm run start process and keeping our app active even after we close our terminal, which is pretty cool. So we now have configured PM2. Let's go to the next step of installing and configuring Nginx. You might have heard what it is. It basically enables reverse proxy, and we need to configure it to work with our particular app. First, what we need to do is we need to make sure that our VM allows the traffic to pass through port 3080. So let's go to, once again, firewall policies. We have already enabled the rule to for traffic to pass through port 3000, which is done. And also by default, we have clicked the button while we were creating our VM to allow HTTP traffic. So it automatically created that rule for allow traffic to pass through TCP/80 port. So that's, you can consider it done, but make sure to check whether it's actually been configured. So we have now configured firewall settings to allow Nginx, further Nginx configuration. Now let's install Nginx. So we do those three commands. So sudo apt get update, and then we do sudo apt get apt-get upgrade. And this command might take a few minutes to run. It will also prompt you to just allow for additional disk space to be used. You just press Y and wait for it to be installed. Once again, this process and triggers for ManDB might take a while. But once again, we're just installing it, and it's the only time that you will actually see it. So once we actually configure it, you will not be seeing this. So let's clear our terminal now. That's done. And we need to also run this command that actually downloads Nginx. So we once again allow for additional disk space to be used. As you can see, once again, it kind of gets stuck on ManDB, but it's rather fast. It's really fast. And now let's go to configuring Nginx. Now let's actually configure Nginx. I will be using this path for creating Nginx config. And what we need to do is we need to sudo nano and create a Next.js.config file at this path. Hopefully you are familiar with nano. If not, once again, I will just show you how it's done. So we need to run this command, and once we do, the editor of this file will open. It's a nano editor, and the easiest way to do this is just grab the template config that I have prepared and open any code editor that you want. It's actually already here. And what you need to do is you need to include your server IP here at this line, server name. So as you remember, we grab the external IP of our VM through there. So we go to Compute Engine, VM instances, and we grab the external IP. I will just paste it here. Now I copy this whole setup, this whole config. I just will move this window here, and I insert it in this file, so Control V. I save this config with Control S, and I exit it with Control X. Now that's done. And now we need to create a symbolic link to enable the configuration. We do this by running this command. Once again, if you have different paths and you use another file name, it will not work for you. So make sure to paste in exact commands that I'm showing you here. So we enable this. We create a symbolic link by this command, and now we delete default Nginx config, which we now don't need since we're using our custom one. And let's also check whether we have deleted that default config. Yes, because while doing ls on this folder, the only config that we see is that the one that we have created. Now we need to verify the symbolic link by doing this command. As you can see here, it shows that our link is active. So if you see something like this, so the name of our file that we have created is linking to this path. So it means that our symbolic link is indeed working. And now we test Nginx config by running sudo nginx -d. And it should return something like this. So syntax is okay, test is successful. If that is what you see, congratulations, you have configured Nginx, and now we need to restart Nginx for those changes to take effect. And it's done. We can also do one more test of Nginx once we restart it to make sure. As you can see, that's done. And let's go to the next step. I will now clear my terminal and let's check whether that worked. So let's go to the 3000 port of our IP once again, of our VM. As you can see, our app is available. And if we have correctly configured Nginx, once we delete this port 3000, it just go to the IP of our VM, we should still see this app. And as you can see, it works. So now our app is not only available on port 3000, but it's also available on just the IP of our machine, of our VM. So that's great to see that our Nginx config have been configured successfully. Now that we have successfully configured Nginx and our app is available not only on port 3000 but also on the IP of our machine, you can also, so if you encountered some errors while doing so, I have prepared some of the common ones. So there can be a symbolic link error or conflicting server name. So I have prepared the explanation for these two here. So make sure to follow those in case you encounter any. Now let's go to issuing SSL certificate. So in order to issue a SSL certificate, we need to install certbot. So let's do this. We need to install sudo apt get update, and then we need to actually install certbot by running this command. So it will take a while, and it will once again ask you whether you allow for additional disk space to be used. You of course press Y to allow this action. And once all of those are installed, we can check whether certbot has been installed by running certbot -- version. Let's do this. As you can see, it has been installed because it shows us the version. Let's clear our terminal. And now let's actually obtain this SSL certificate for our domain. So mine is sikin.site. This is not the domain of my actual blog. This is a test domain where I test stuff and show other people how to set up stuff. So I will be using this one. Once again, if you don't have your domain, just skip the step. So this is how this command looks, and let's modify it to actually mention our domain. So for me, it's like this. So I copy this command and I paste it here. So sudo certbot set only nginx, and domain is sikin.site. It prompts me to pass in my email. You can actually pass any email here, it doesn't matter, but I will just paste it here. So you need to agree to terms and conditions. And for example, I personally wouldn't like extra emails to be sent to me, so I press no here, and it's obtaining certificate now. You will need to wait for this to happen, and once that's done, as you can see, it says that congratulations, your certificate and chain have been saved, and it shows the path to it. You don't need to remember it, you can copy it somewhere just to have it. It shows also the expiration date of this certificate. And once that's done, let's update our Nginx configuration. Now that we have updated the configuration for our Nginx, let's also set up automatic certificate renewal. So by running this command, and once again, to make this work, to make this configuration work, you need to make sure to allow traffic to path through ports 80 and 443. So let's go into our VM configuration here on Google Cloud Platform. Let's go to set up firewall rules and check whether we do have those two ports open. As you can see, yes, indeed we have, because when creating our VM, we have checked two boxes to create those rules. And now let's go to our domain. I will just clean my terminal, and let's go to the domain that we have configured all this for. For me, it's this one. And as you can see, when I go to this domain, not only is my app available, the connection is also secured. So the SSL certificate is working, which means that we have correctly issued it, and we have correctly configured Nginx, and we have configured firewall policy correctly. So now any app that we will have here, it will show connection is secure for this domain. Now that we have configured our app to be available and the traffic for this domain to be secured with SSL, and we have correctly configured Nginx, let's also enable guest attributes to VM's metadata. So we go to VM instances, we go to metadata. Here in metadata, we click add metadata. In key, you can just copy this from my blog post. So key is this one, and the value is true. I have read on Google Cloud platform docs that you need to do this. So you need to enable guest attributes metadata. Here's the link to this, by the way. After enabling guest attributes for VM's metadata, let's say that you want to update your app on VM. Because in this particular tutorial, we have been creating our Next.js app with running npx create next app on VM, but let's say you have cloned your GitHub repo to VM, and now this repo is updated. So what do? First off, you need to stop PM2 process. So you do PM2 stop. You do either PM2 stop all, or you do PM2 stop and with process ID. How do you find process ID? It's this number here, or you can do it by name. So it's really easy. Then you do, so while in your folder of your Next.js app, you do git pull. Of course, I'm going to be doing this because I don't have a GitHub repo connected to this app, but you do git pull here, and then you run npm run build again because you need to rebuild your app, and then you do pm2 restart all. So pm2 restart all. And once your pm2 process is restarted, the app will be updated and it will be running as it was before. Every day, make updating your app from GitHub repo generally easier and faster. So we need to create a shell script, and so we do this by doing nano. I will call this script I update and restart because it updates and restarts our app. It opens this nano editor, but we don't have the script, so let's prepare it first. So I will copy it down here, and of course we need to modify it. So it basically here you tell what happens when you run the script. So first we need to navigate to our project directory. For me, I was so my the folder where my Next.js app is this one. So I cd into this one. So we open this folder. We stop all PM2 processes, which stops our app from running. We pull the latest changes from GitHub repo. So git pull origin main, for example. Of course, it might be different for you, so make sure to modify this part of the command for your needs. And we do npm install, we do npm run build, and we do pm2 restart all, which basically restarts our app on VM. Now I copy this script and I paste it here. I do Control S, I do Control X, and now this script is done, but it's not executable. So we need to do this command. So chmod +x and the name of the file, which is this one. So now it's executable. If I do ls, I'm in the root folder, by the way. So I see that this script is now green, which means I can execute it. Of course, since I don't have GitHub repo for this particular app, because my app was created with npx create next app, this script will not do anything for me. But if you have cloned your one, it will update and restart your app. We can also schedule this script to run with cron tab. So we do sudo cron tab -e, which also will ask us which editor we would like to use. I would like to use Nano editor. So this is the default cron doc, I think, config. So I delete all the lines from here. And what I do is, for example, you can paste in here this. So yes, you can paste this. And what it does is that, as you can see, first numbers here are 59, then 23, 3 stars, and it's the path to the script that we have created to update and restart our app. So basically, you probably guessed it, it runs the script every 59th minute, every 23rd hour. So basically, 1 minute before noon, it will run this script. Of course, you can customize the script to do literally anything you want. So this the power of having your VM and having the ability to configure it as you want. So we now save this cron tab with Control S and exit with Control X. And I will once again clear my terminal. So now this script will run every this time, and it will run this script that we have written previously. VS Code extension to change files inside your virtual machine. So you need to first install this extension, which is Remote SSH from Microsoft. So I go to VS Code extensions, I search for it, and this is how it looks. Of course, you need to install it and enable it. Once that's done, let's go to, I will just switch the tabs here. I will do Control-Shift-P, and I open SSH configuration file. You might have just one here. I have two, so choose the one that you have and open it. As you can see, I already have it configured, and here's what you want to include here. So it's this template, and there's the example. So host, this is external IP to your VM. Hostname is the same as host. User is SSH username that you have used to connect to your VM, so you already know it. And identity file is the path to the location of your public SSH key. As you can see here, I have already configured that. So let me just grab the external IP and paste it here to both of those lines. I will just quickly do that. So that's done. Now I can close this config. And then I need to, once again, from command line, choose Remote SSH connect to host. Let me just quickly do that. So connect to host. And if you configured everything correctly, you should see the IP address of your VM here. So now I clicked enter. Of course, I choose Linux since this is the operational system that we have chosen for our VM. And once that's done, it will show opening remote, and it will show the IP address of our VM here on the bottom left. I can close this, and once that's done, I need to go here in Explorer. I need to open folder, and I simply choose the folder that I want to open here in VS Code terminal. And once that's done, you can actually edit files inside your VM via VS Code. So this is pretty powerful, as you can imagine. So if I open any terminal and save it, it will save in VM as well. So this is pretty powerful. You can actually kind of develop your app this way. But once again, I highly recommend that you connect your VM to your GitHub repo, of course. Now that you have completed the tutorial, you gained a lot of knowledge. You can actually complete the quiz that I have made for you on the bottom of this blog post. So you can go to my blog and complete this quiz just for fun, just to check how well you understood all the concepts that I was describing here, just to check your knowledge. Of course, there are some resources that I have linked to on the very bottom of this post, so make sure to check those out. Of course, if you have been following this tutorial and following this blog post that I have written, you should not have any issues. If you do, leave them down in the comments, And if you didn't, of course, tell me that this method worked for you. I will be really glad to hear that this tutorial was useful and helpful for someone, that the deployment and hosting method worked for somebody. Once again, my blog, so this particular one, tsikin.com, this is hosted on VM, so you can check its like performance, and you can click around here. You can support my channel by subscribing. I'm planning to do more content, honestly, about like web development, maybe marketing, because I have a background in marketing actually. I'm a beginner web developer. So you can check my other videos on this YouTube channel. I did a how to deploy via Firebase tutorial, and make sure to follow this channel for future videos, not just about deployment, but in general. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that was useful and you deployed your Next.js app to virtual machine. So thank you and bye now.